Hey guys, I was giving Coolerbot a scrub down on the bathtub, like we always do.
Yeah.
And this Wayland Yutani sticker just came off, and I was like, what the hell?
Wait, hold on. That was just a sticker?
Guys, I think I recognize that. Is that a Cyberdyne logo on his chassis?
Yes, Neil, it is Cyberdyne Systems Model H20.
Coolerbot? We probably should have asked this sooner, but what is your mission exactly?
My mission is the complete eradication of humanity's thirst.
I'm getting out of here.
Welcome to Crew Expendable. I am Circle 7 Bioengineering Project Subject Hallstrom.
And I am one-armed bandit Rohrbacher.
And I am, there are lots of gorgeous women on this site. Date Ukrainian girl and have fun, Bob.
The best one yet.
And we are the world's most unexceptional food delivery service, catering the crossover events of the Alien franchise.
Extremely correct. The most correct one that we've ever used.
That's very good.
Guys, it's time. It's fucking Aliens versus Predator versus the Terminator time.
We've been talking about it for weeks, and we're finally getting around to it, baby.
Oh, you mean AVPVT?
I do, yes.
I think AVPVTT.
AVPVTT.
Ah.
Bob, welcome back. We only have you here for the best quality stuff we're covering.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I remembered I was listening to an episode of The Flock from a couple of weeks ago when Alien came up, and Bob's like, and Resurrection. Well, I am intimately familiar with the events of Resurrection.
Yeah. Bob, you do a podcast that's it's called The Flock, right? And it
is
mostly about places to get vegan food in Virginia.
That's kind of what we talk about most of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of is. It's a bigger chunk of the show than you think it is.
If you want hyper local restaurant recommendations for Richmond, Virginia, check out my video game podcast, The Flock, at workatmydadslawfirm.com.
Bob, you also get up to some nonsense over there on Twitch.
Yeah, Friday nights I'm usually over there doing hot tub streams or whatever the meta is for showing my bare body on Twitch.
You're a fitness influencer, isn't that?
You could say that. Yeah. I'm influencing. I am an influencer. I'm
He's
under the influence.
He's influencing fitness, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can check that out Friday nights at twitch.tv/respectable street.
Go follow Bob. Go follow all of his projects, right? Anything else you want to plug, Bob? Like if anyone needs tile work done or...
Hey, if anyone needs tile work done, call someone else. I'm too busy.
There you go.
All right. Excellent plug.
Guys, we're introducing... So we've done some... Obviously, we've done a handful of Aliens things on this podcast, right? A couple of Predator things.
A few here and there, a handful, yeah.
This is the first time we're doing anything related to a third science fiction franchise that was popular in the 80s and 90s.
Sure is.
Yeah, we're crossing into Terminator land now.
I do have a question, though. Bob, is this the first time we've talked about Predator while you've been on the show?
Possibly.
All right, then I guess go over your opinions about Predator and your history with the Predators.
This is good because honestly, we need the content. There's nothing in these comic books.
Predator. Hey, the first one, I thought, goddamn, this fucking movie rocks. I am about 10 years old, and this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Predator 2, I think is, in retrospect, it is a very fun movie.
Hell yeah.
It gets a lot of hate, but I think it's better than people remember it, I think.
Yes, 100% agree, honestly. Predator 2 is so much fun to watch.
Let's see. Canonically, after that, we do...
Predators is next.
Yes.
That's before AVP?
No.
Well, okay, if we're talking AVP, then yes, those two are next.
We would be, because those are in the Predator canon.
That's fair. That's a good point.
At least as far as this show is concerned.
You've got me there. So yes, AVP is next.
So AVP 1 is the Arctic spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2, I don't remember what 2 is. 2 is on the planet, the Predator planet.
No, AVP.
No, that's
2,
Predators.
That's Predators with Adrian Brody, right?
Yes.
Okay,
and
that
Danny
one's
Trejo.
crazy. That one's so crazy.
AVP 2 is the one with the Predalien in it.
It's on Earth with the little,
yes.
the small mountain town or forest town or whatever.
Yes. I mean, they're very of the era, like 2000s, like action movie.
Sure.
Not crazy about them. Predators, plural, with Trejo and Brody.
Mm-hmm.
That movie stinks on ice, and
Wow.
it's very fun to watch.
Okay. All right. I'll take it.
And then what do we hit? Prey after that?
The Predator with Thomas Jane.
The Shane Black, right?
Yeah.
The Shane Black returns.
Yeah.
Hey, that one is, I would say, almost offensive.
Is that the one with Olivia Munn in it? Is she in that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yeah, that one is crazy.
Okay.
Well,
crazy.
you've also said 2 other movies in the series were crazy. Do you mean crazy derogatively in this one?
Yes.
He did. He called it borderline offensive.
I just wanted to, make sure that we're all on the same page here.
Okay. All right.
I mean, they take like a can we? What page are we on where we, as far as their regarding how they treat autism in the movie?
Yeah, that's pretty problematic,
right?
Yes.
I couldn't tell if I was tripping or if do other people also feel like this is maybe a step too far.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe I'm not the best person to weigh in on that, but that did stand out to me in that film.
Sure.
But maybe it doesn't for other people.
Right. So then after that, we hit Prey, and I think Prey is just like one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years, probably. It's just 100%. So fun.
I'll agree with that. That movie fucking rips.
Prey is, I'll say it here now, right now, my favorite in the series.
Wow.
I have not seen all of them, but of the ones I have seen, it's also my favorite.
It's good. My only complaint about Prey is them retconning the gun.
Yeah, that's a little, the gun that Danny Glover gets at the end of 2.
Yes, which they address in the, it was a Dark Horse Predator comics?
It was, yes. I don't know which ones. I didn't read a lot of those. But I do remember that was the center of at least one storyline or one shot or something.
I think it's a one shot. He goes back and and is he's with a pirate, either a French or Spanish pirate. And they're fighting other pirates or other I don't recall exactly. It's been a while since I've seen it, but
that sounds
I thought that story was really cool.
Yeah.
And then they kind of throw all of that away and shoehorn it a little narrative into Prey, which is in my mind not as cool as what the comic was explaining. So
that's Disney, baby.
Yeah.
I'll say I didn't even when watching Prey, didn't make the connection until after looking at things on the internet.
Okay.
But I guess there's talk of the Prey sequel having to do a little bit more with that or something. I don't know. That might just be internet wishful thinking.
I feel like I keep hearing a samurai story for a Prey sequel also.
I'm down for that too. That'd be pretty rad.
I'm pretty sure, I think it's called or at least the working title is Badlands. And the guy that did Prey is the one making it, but that's really the only things I know of off the top of my head about it.
Dan Trachtenberg, right?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. I would be interested, Fede had that thing where he thinks he and Dan Trachtenberg should get together for a new Alien versus Predator movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely be down for that.
I'd watch that.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'd watch it no matter who made it, because that's what I've done with every other movie in these 2 series.
That's fair.
I would actually be excited about seeing it in that case,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be interested in seeing a AVP set in the current like Alien timeline.
Yeah, maybe something set like in space in the future, not in Antarctica or the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But that's just me.
That's just me.
That's just all of us, it sounds like. So I guess you're a fan of this series overall. There's a handful of them you like, and then there's a couple of them you're not too crazy about, and then there's the AVP movies, right?
Yeah, I was a childhood, like as a kid, my like two favorite franchises were the Alien and Predator specifically, and then when the AVP movies came out when I was a little older, but like there was some there's like 2 games, right?
There's a few, but some of them were later. Yeah.
I just remember, like as a kid, I remember there being I think there's like an arcade.
Yeah.
Was it like a beat 'em up or not? Beat 'em up?
The Capcom beat 'em up.
And then there was some other game I remember playing that was.
Yeah. Well, you were the one kid with the Atari Jaguar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there were the PC AVP games also.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which are both pretty dope.
But yeah, I was a huge fan of Predator and Alien. So
nice.
The AVP stuff was always fresh on my radar. That's not how you say it.
I don't know. It sounds right to me.
I was always looking out for it when it was bouncing around.
There you go. And you've read obviously some of the older Predator comics, and I think you've read some of the Dark Horse Alien stuff as well, right?
Yes, I went through the omnibuses of the first volume of the Alien omnibus.
Okay, so those original Mark Verheiden stuff, yeah.
And then a couple just random Dark Horse Predator comics.
Okay,
the one sticking out specifically is the pirate, the gun one.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, we talked about A and we talked about P, so let's talk about T.
Double T.
Sorry, yes, TT. I apologize.
All right. Well, here's
Bob loves his TTs. Am I right, guys? Okay.
I'm sure you're extremely correct.
Here's where the whole podcast audience turns on me. I am not a huge Terminator fan.
All right.
Okay.
I think the first movie is fun. The second movie, I don't really understand.
All right.
Okay.
And then after that, I think I've seen all of them, but I just don't. I don't think I like them.
Okay. We're not gonna come down on you for that.
Yeah, I will leave that to the other people.
My main holdback on it is when you have a story that involves time travel.
Yes. Okay.
It is very hard for that to be a plot tight story, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I am infamous amongst my friend group for also extremely hating time travel stories. So yes, I hear you.
And especially when that time travel story involves a sci-fi universe that is extremely lore and rules heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
When you introduce time travel to that type of story, you open yourself up to all kinds of like plot holes and like plot inaccuracies and just like, it's hard for me to watch those movies and not like, I know it's the most annoying thing in the world to do, but like in my head, I'm going cinema sins on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me have a bad time watching the movies, which is totally a me problem. I'm not saying they're bad movies. I'm just saying I don't find myself enjoying them. I think the first 2 are fun. After that, it kind of just is noise to me.
Sure.
That's fair.
Kenny, how do you feel about the Terminator series?
Well, I really like the first movie because I like how it's like an action / horror movie. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting. I think the Terminator itself looks really cool. Like, I think it's like, model work or however it is they did it. It looks really sweet. But I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember really liking Judgment Day a lot because our boy Jimmy C pulled the same trick a second time. The first movie was a horror movie, and then the second movie that he directs he turns it into an action movie. But I think the turn from horror to action works a lot better for Terminator than it did just like conceptually for Alien. So the fact that they turned it into just a straight up action movie in the second one, I'm like, yeah, man, this rocks. I still really like the first one. I think it's probably still my favorite one, like of the two, but I do think the second one is extremely good. And fucking Robert Patrick fucking kicks ass in that movie. He rules in that movie. And I barely remember anything about the third movie. Other than the fact that I've seen it, and Arnie carries a coffin on his shoulder at one point.
Sure, but it's a coffin full of weapons, dude.
Oh, it's full of weapons. I didn't even remember that part. Because Neil, I know you're going to bring it up. The TV show. I watched. See, I had thought I only ever watched a few episodes of it, but since I remember Shirley Manson showing up in it, and according to you, Neil, she doesn't appear until season 2.
Yes.
I apparently watched the entirety of season 1, but I don't really remember any of it. And I definitely know I did not finish season 2, and there was not a season 3 of the show.
Right.
After that, I've seen Salvation, but I don't remember anything about it. And I remember, which leads me to believe that I, was like lukewarm on it at best.
Okay.
Genesis, I did not think was very good. I didn't think it made any sense, not even because of the time travel part. Just the plot was just weird and not very well written. And I remember thinking that I believe that's Matt Smith in that movie.
Matt Smith is in it, yes.
Yeah, I remember thinking he was insanely miscast as the evil, insane AI trying to kill everyone. I was like, that is not what an AI would look like. Yeah. And I never saw Dark Fate because when it came out, everyone immediately was like, this movie is ass. So I never watched it.
Okay. All right.
And as of this recording, the Terminator Zero anime is already out, and I have not seen even 1 second of it.
Okay. So you're what you call yourself medium on Terminator? You like the first couple?
I really like the first movie. The second one is also pretty fun, and then from then on, it's just kind of like eh.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I like the first couple. That's about it.
Okay. Guys.
And there's a reason I saved you for last. Go ahead.
I'm a huge fucking Terminator mark. I eat that shit up. Except Terminator 3. That's one of my least favorite movies of all time. That movie fucking sucks ass. It's so bad.
What is your draw to it?
I think similar to Alien, I was drawn to the series at a young age. I do think Terminator 1 is a fantastic sort of Halloween knockoff.
Yeah.
Which I really like, And then Terminator 2 was just everywhere when I was, the age of everyone being into Terminator 2.
Do you remember the like how it was made like special effects TV shows?
I do, yes.
And every single one of them would have an episode with, how they did the what was it? The
T1000, yeah.
T1000, the liquid metal stuff.
Yeah.
It was omnipresent through like childhood TV watching of mine of special effects from that movie.
Yeah, man. Well, it was like really impressive and revolutionary at the time. And I think they still hold up fairly well.
Yeah, I haven't seen T2 Super recently. It's been a couple of years, but last time I watched it, I even remember thinking, man, this still looks pretty good.
I've watched all of the movies in like the past month, except for Terminator 3, because I hate that movie.
So you haven't watched all of them. Tisk, tisk.
All of them except Terminator 3.
That's shaking my head.
It's all the same sentence. And I genuinely like all of them. Like Terminator 1's my favorite, Terminator 2 second. Dark Fate is my third. All the people who are saying it sucks ass, I don't know what they're talking about, honestly. That movie rules. I do remember a lot of people complaining about it being woke. So maybe those people were just kind of loud at the time.
If I recall, I believe it's woke because there is more than one woman as part of the cast, I believe.
Yeah, it's basically all women except for Arnold, and he's not present until, I don't know, maybe a third of the way into the movie, maybe more.
Okay.
I think Genesis isn't great, but I think it's got a lot of fun stuff in it. Mm-hmm. And then Salvation is... the first half of it is like real fucking boring, like Transformers shit.
Yeah.
And then the second half is when it is actually a Terminator movie, but it's not, I don't like it that much.
That has Anton Yelchin in it, right?
It does.
Okay, yes. All right.
And he's John Connor, and he's underutilized.
Okay, I do vaguely remember him being in one of them, but I couldn't for sure remember which one.
And then Terminator 3 sucks ass.
Also, that actually reminds me, that was another thing that it's funny that you mentioned Halloween. It's one thing that really bugs me about the series that honestly does kind of also bug me about the Halloween series is that there's like 6 different continuities. And like some movies are canon to others while others are not to like even further others. That's very annoying to me when people do that kind of shit.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, when you have time travel involved, that's going to happen, right? Like,
yeah, it's true.
Like I took a little time earlier browsing like the Terminator wiki, and there are so many fucking timelines. It's absurd. And I'm never going to get it straight. Yeah. I also don't care about getting it straight. You know, like
that's fair.
For my money, like if you're sticking to the movies, like 1 and 2, tell a complete story, and the problems really sort of happen, and the weird time travel rules get thrown out after 1 and 2 because I got to find like more excuses of like, because like 1 and 2 set up a pretty standard sort of, you know, Skynet could send 2 things back with whatever the power it had to like run the fucking time turner, right? The time displacement channel or chamber. Yeah. And then it took, after Skynet was defeated, the resistance was able to send 2 things back as well. That's just how that thing works. You know, you can just buy that.
Yeah.
If they could just send unlimited things back, you start thinking, why don't they just fucking send 100 Terminators back? You know?
Yeah. Why don't they just open a big portal and a fucking army of terms just come out and kill everyone? Yeah.
And that's where like stuff like Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is a show I also really like, that's where it starts to get messy. Yeah. And like what they do in that is they get a little creative about it where they're like, oh yeah, no, there are a lot of Terminators get sent back, but some of them are getting sent back just to like secure resources and buildings that are later going to become, you know, factories that build Terminators for Skynet and interesting ideas. But yeah, it does get confusing when you're dealing with time travel. I think the simpler you keep it, the better. And as long as like the movie makes the rules sound believable and doesn't do anything that breaks those rules, I can just sort of buy it. But then once they go beyond like the limits that they set up, it just gets confusing and stupid. And that's sort of what happens to the Terminator sequels, you know.
I think if I had seen the Terminator movies at a younger age, I think I would have a better appreciation for them. I somehow just never saw them as a kid. And it wasn't until I was like, 16 or something when I finally watched the first 2. And what bothered me the most about it was my teenage cynical brain. In the first one, Arnold is the villain. He's the bad guy. The second one, it's like a blockbuster action movie, and Arnold is back as the good guy.
Yeah.
And that was like, in my brain, I was like, oh, this is just like, it feels like a cash grab to me.
Okay.
Like, being my like cynical 16-year-old, like everything sucks kind of personality, which I still fight with all the time. But I just had that in my mind of like, why is he like, I understand like they make a plot reason why he's, reprogrammed as a good guy now. But like in my head, I was like, oh, they needed Arnold again for this to work. And this is the only way they could do it. And it just made me like, not take the movie seriously in that kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the turn from villain to anti-hero is a very common move. Like Venom was a bad guy and then people liked him, so he eventually became kind of a good guy. Moon Knight
Freddy
did
Krueger?
that. Freddy basically is, even though he was nominally the villain of the actual movies themselves.
Freddy's never the good guy. What are you talking about?
Not the good guy, but he's beloved.
Yeah, he is the main character that everyone likes, though.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And actually, I watched the second Sonic movie earlier, and spoiler alert, there is a teaser at the very end where Shadow shows up. And my mom looks at me and goes, "So what's his deal?" And I was like, all right, well, here's the thing. He started off as a bad guy, all right? But then when the game came out, he died at the end of that game. But then everyone liked him, so they retconned him and brought him back, and now he's a good guy, and he's just one of Sonic's pals. And that's basically what they did with Terminator, yeah.
Your mom's like, "What's the deal with Shadow?" And you just like take her phone and like search Shadow on DeviantArt and hand it back to her.
Yeah, my mom's like, "What's the deal with Shadow?" And then my eyes fucking roll into the back of my head and turn white like I'm that guy from Dune, and I just start reciting the Wikipedia page from memory.
You're like, "Let me show you my fan art."
I do not have any fan art of Shadow, all right?
And if he was, he wouldn't be pregnant.
Don't start spreading that rumor. I don't have any Sonic fan art, okay?
Okay, sure. All right.
I'm not an artist. If anything, it would be a story, not a picture, all right?
Sorry, your Shadow the Hedgehog AO3 fan fiction.
That's correct.
All right. What were we talking about again?
We were talking about Terminator.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know. We don't have to get too much more. Listen, the truth is I could talk about Terminator shit for entire podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
The one last thing I want to touch on is I have read some of the Dark Horse Terminator books before this.
Mm-hmm.
I actually recently, there was a Humble Bundle where we were able to get all of them, all of the old Dark Horse run that
was.
Dynamite has the publishing rights to now, right? So I reread Tempest, which was the first Terminator arc, which much like the first Aliens book, you know how Outbreak was written as a sequel to Aliens?
I do.
Tempest came out after the first movie, before the second. Sort of not really a sequel to the first one, but only operating on things talked about in the first one. And it was a very cool read. I think that might be the first time we see like the time displacement chamber. And it was just focused on a whole different set of like resistance, fighters traveling back in time with the time displacement chamber and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very fun read. What I liked about it was they were just sort of on their own, making up, lore and canon canon and everything.
Yeah, like they were doing with the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, like they were doing with the Alien and Predator books for a long time. And I just think that's, I don't know, I like that stuff. I like seeing like alternate takes on these things. I read one other one months ago. I actually got the floppies of a series called Terminator, I think Hunters and Killers. Mm-hmm. It was written by Adam Warren and Torrin Smith, who I really like. They did the Dirty Pair Dark Horse comics also in the 80s and 90s. Really good. Torrin Smith writes some really good, dense sci-fi scripts. And that was a cool book, too, because it introduced this idea of like more advanced ceramic Terminators with more human tissue that could be like implanted, like modeled after a real person and implanted with all of their memories so they could like fully pass as human.
That's kind of cool.
Interesting.
That is pretty sick. I like when the comics do those kind of creative things with an existing property that the movies and stuff just aren't going to touch on,
Mm-hmm.
This book doesn't do any of that.
This book definitely is doing its own thing. That's for sure.
I'm going to say it. We only read 2 issues of this. Disappointing to me.
All right.
I'm just going to get right to it.
A little hard to follow also. I mean, it's not like hard to follow. I mean, I don't understand where it's going.
Right.
It doesn't seem like it feels aimless.
A little bit. Yeah. It's,
so
this is not how I would make, this is not the easiest route I feel to make an Aliens versus Predator versus the Terminator comic book series. it feels like it went out of its way to be kind of confusing and unremarkable.
Yeah, it goes from 0 to extremely convoluted in the first 6 pages.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I guess we're reviewing it now. So I'll give my review. I completely disagree with both of you. I thought this comic fucking rocked, and I had a great time reading it.
okay.
I thought it was insane, and I was cackling the entire time I was reading it.
I mean, I'm with you on that. It's fun to read, but it doesn't make a lick of sense.
It does not make any sense at all. I'm still wondering, after reading 2 issues, why the hybrids just look like guys.
Okay. All right. Yeah. This is my point. Okay.
But I think it's funny, and it's an insane choice to do, so I just rolled with it. Actually, let's just get into the fucking comic.
We're getting into this thing, guys. We read the first 2 of 4 issues of Aliens versus Predator versus the Terminator, published by Dark Horse Comics in the year 2000, I believe.
I believe it is, yes.
Written by
August of 2000.
Mark Schultz, with pencils by Mel Ruby, inks by Christopher Ivey, colors by David Stewart, and letters by Pat Brosseau, a letterer we have seen before in something that I can't pull.
Yeah, neither can I, but I did recognize his name because of it.
Probably,
Hey, I have a question.
Maybe it was Pig. What's up, Bob?
Who else, what do you call it? The penciler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they do Alien, Predator, or Terminator comics?
Christopher Ivey?
Yes.
I don't know.
I have that information. Hold on.
Because I'm just wondering what their forte was prior to the mashup.
Christopher Ivey did Aliens versus Predator comics prior or after this.
So they were just AVP straight up.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, they did Alien versus Predator Xenogenesis, and then they did this book.
So they weren't like Terminator comics and then did this and then...
No, it didn't shift over. I don't know what they did outside of these for Dark Horse, but yeah, I'd say, honestly, it kind of makes sense that the Alien and Predator stuff... Well, I don't know. We haven't really seen his xenomorph yet, have we?
Not really.
Except for the covers? No, we haven't.
I think the cover is by somebody different.
The cover is someone else.
The cover of issue 1 is Dwayne Turner with colors by David Stewart. Same colors as the inside.
That is the guy that commonly does a lot of Spawn covers at the time. And I got to be real, man. I thought this cover was sick as hell.
The cover is really sick. The art inside is not. But
yeah, the art's...
The cover's dope.
Not great, but the cover is really cool. It's not really anything like fancy or special. It's just, I just thought it was drawn really well, and the poses were really dynamic and interesting. And like, it's not anything like from a design perspective. It doesn't really wow you. It's just a really cool looking picture,
Yeah. The cover is rad. The interior art is giving me that. It looks very 2000s.
It's so 2000s.
It really reminds me of mid 2000s Marvel comics, like Civil War era stuff. That's what it reminds me of.
Was Civil? No, that wasn't Brian Hitch on that. It might have been. I don't know.
I thought that was Joe Quesada. Maybe I don't remember. It has been over a decade since I've read Civil War, so I don't remember. But
this has given me heavy metal magazine vibes, but
that's exactly what it is.
But not in the good way this time. Like, this has given me 2000s era heavy metal magazine, not like 70s and 80s heavy metal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone's proportions are just like slightly off, and then every pose is like exaggerated to a point of
backbreaking.
I don't know. It's very like it's very superhero comic booky looking.
There's a lot of people bending in a way that reminds you of a Rob Liefeld art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although there are, all right, there are a lot of feet in this.
There sure are, which means it's definitely not by Rob Liefeld.
We see hands and feet all over the place.
Yeah. All right. Let's dive into this thing.
All right.
I'm going to give this thing a compliment off the top. It doesn't waste my time.
I mean, Neil, if you want me to do this, since I'm clearly the highest of the three of us on it, I can actually cover this if you want me to.
Bring it on. I'm going to fight you every step of the way, though.
All right. Imagine, if you will, what in a cyberpunk story would be referred to as the Undercity. All right. That is where a whole big old squad of people are moving around, traveling, looking for someone. And like page 1 or maybe page 2, they almost immediately find them. And surprise, it's Ripley 8. They're talking with Ripley for a little bit, and then surprise, one of the people in the squad is Call from Resurrection.
Yes. After Ripley 8 beats the shit out of at least one of them.
Yep. And
Also,
it has another one lifted over her head about to like body slam him.
And don't be worried if you can't recognize anyone from any other instances.
Yeah, it certainly does not look like Sigourney Weaver or Winona Ryder. That's correct.
It was a nice reminder that it's Anna Lee Call, not just Call.
Yeah.
But
I did his research.
Call tells Ripley that they were searching for her for a specific reason, because there is a guy named Trollenberg, which wild name, who is using xenomorph DNA to create genetically engineered super soldiers on a military medical ship called the Typhoon.
Yes.
This military project has clearance level Circle 7, which is the highest one that there is.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Then there is a scene that I thought was pretty cool where we see Trollenberg in his lab, and he's like a big, huge, hulking monstrosity guy with gigantic mutton chops, and he's like doing some surgery or whatever it is he's doing, and then this general and a squad of soldiers comes in, and he's like, Trollenberg, I'm shutting you down. And then Trollenberg...
Picture a Spirit Halloween like mad scientist costume, and
that
that's
is
exactly
precisely what it looks like.
Trollenberg
Yes. And he turns around and pulls out a gun from his pocket and shoots all of the soldiers, and then like stands over the general, like towering over him, and then just snaps his neck, and then picks up all of the bodies and throws them into this giant tub of acid to melt their corpses away.
Picture the wrestler Goldberg in one of those Spirit Halloween mad scientist costumes.
Also, while this is happening, the soldiers do shoot him a couple of times, and then when we see a straight ahead shot of Trollenberg, we see where the bullets hit him, the skin burned away, and there's metal underneath. So we're tipped off very quickly that this guy is in fact an android.
Not a reveal, not a surprise. Because the second I saw this guy, we see him from the back the first time, I was like, that guy's a Terminator.
well, to be fair, name of the comic notwithstanding, it is intended to be a reveal that he is specifically a Terminator within the context of the story, because androids do exist in Alien, you know?
I know.
And also he's doing experiments on like a Frankenstein's monster on the slab.
Sure.
Yeah, this guy is the hugest guy. Like when I said Trollenberg was like hulking, Trollenberg is like hulking just in stature, but this guy that he's operating on the table is the Hulk. Like that's how big he is.
Yeah, look at those toes. They're as big as Trollenberg's hand.
And basically, it cuts back to Call and them and Ripley. And when I say Call and them, referring to the rest of her squad that she's with, I say and them because none of them are like ever named in the comic.
No, the long blonde-haired guy is named Vorman.
And we do get the names of 2 other people later on, but it's after they get killed and we're never told which ones they were.
Right.
But anyway,
I like this. I like this scene with Ripley and Call. So I want to spend a little time on this.
Well, Call tells Ripley that they managed to find little bits and pieces of information because, like I said, Circle 7's the highest clearance there is. So they were only able to find the little teeniest bits. but they figured out a way to get onto the ship by copying and swiping their like shipping manifest. And so Call and the rest of her squad are going to pretend to be caterers, making the food shipments to this space station. And that's how they're going to get on, because the tunnel that they have to walk down to get to where the deliveries go passes by the tunnel you have to go down to get to the Circle 7 floor.
Yes.
And so Call is like, that's the only way we're going to be able to get in there. And then Ripley gets really mad and she's like, I'm going to be real, Annalie. I don't give a fuck about the xenomorphs.
Mhm.
I don't think about them anymore. They're not a part of my brain capacity. I don't care. They're inevitable. They're the fate of the universe. So just set it aside. My real problem is those motherfuckers in the military, because I just found out that they're using the same technology, the same programs that they use to clone and make me. So now I'm just really mad that they're going to be doing these so they can get fucked. And the comic is, if that speech that Ripley gives is the comic's way of telling us that Ripley does not want to be a part of it, it was written really poorly, because I read that and I was like, oh, so Ripley's definitely in then. But then Call responds by saying, look, I get you. I know what you're saying. Counterpoint, if you don't help us, I'm going to send your coordinates to the military, and I'm currently blackmailing you to come with us. And Ripley's like, son of a bitch, and then joins the squad.
Okay. So I understood she didn't want to be a part of this because she's literally saying that those bastards in the military, she says, like, they stole her soul. They took away her death. Like, she's like, I can't even die because they just bring me back. She says they have the desire and ability to torture me endlessly, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. She doesn't want to face that again because she like finally escaped from all of that. That's the reason she was like down in the Undercity. And she was hiding and trying to stay off of their radar so that she wouldn't be subjected to any more experiments or get cloned again or any of that shit.
I read that speech as, since I intimately know what they can do with this technology, I'm the only one capable of being able to stop them. So of course I'll join you. Well, that's how I understood her speech to be.
That's Call's reasoning. She's like, we need you because we don't know what we're up against, and you know better than us.
I know, that's precisely my point. I read this, I thought that's what Ripley was saying, and then I was extremely confused by Call's rebuttal to it, because I'm like, yeah, you're just repeating your reasoning that she already gave you back to her, but treating it as a bad thing. Like, I thought one of their speeches was very poorly written, because I thought they were both just saying the same thing to each other from opposite sides. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Bob, can you weigh in on this, settle this debate?
I'm on your side. I think I landed on the same side page of her not wanting to do it.
Yeah. Okay. 2 against 1, Kenny.
Hey, also, I read this on readcomic.me.
Uh-huh.
So my designation at the beginning of the episode is not just me being weird. It is every pop-up I got.
Yeah, I assumed, because I read it on readallcomics.com and it also had banner ads. So I just assumed that's where you got it from.
I just wanted to make sure that people listening didn't think I was just being a weird guy.
little revealing of maybe your browsing history, but targeted ads and all that. Sorry, this is the first time we've really spent time with Ripley in this. Ripley 8. Mm-hmm. This is a very different Ripley 8 than what we even got in Original Sin, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I can sympathize with her. Call says, like, I thought we were going to stick together, and you just like bounced immediately. It doesn't feel super Ripley-y to me, so I am sort of looking forward to the point in the story where she sort of does the classic Ripley thing, and it's just like, well, I guess I got to do this because, nobody else is doing it, even though I don't really want to, and I don't really feel qualified to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I would say almost spoiler alert. We don't get a whole lot more content from from that crew from here on out.
You're right.
It's
Yeah.
very slim.
Yeah. I mean, as it stands, though, I'm not a fan. This doesn't really like that speech is as close to feeling like Ripley as these books got for me, and they don't feel super close, and they don't really feel like Ripley ate either.
Even Call's portrayal is very out of character from the movie. I guess it's kind of similar to the first book that we did.
Yeah,
It's
Original
a little more in
Sin.
line with that Original Sin. It's a little more in line with Call and Original Sin, but it's still I don't know, she's very much a leader in this.
Yeah.
And we don't really see that a lot elsewhere.
No, absolutely not. They say she's got she's like pre-programmed to want to help people, and she has like a programming for organization. I didn't get that at all from either of the previous two appearances. Maybe she got an upgrade. I don't know.
Firmware update.
Yeah. All right.
Despite her modem being burned so that they can't, but
That's
yes,
right.
I get you.
Right.
She burned her modem. They all did.
But yeah, then after that discussion and after Call,
the Autons, they did it. They burned their modems.
They did. That's correct. Yes. Afterwards, after Call tells Ripley that she's about to blackmail her if she doesn't help, we smash cut to what I would describe as a very groovy and 70s looking Predator scout ship. It has a lot of curves and it bubbles out a whole bunch, and it reminds me of like 70s like Funkadelic groovy font.
I call it the Chester Cheeto head.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys ever watch Darkwing Duck?
But yeah, we see it flying through the air, and it's heading towards a big circular space station that kind of looks like what are those things?
Kind of looks like Sevastopol.
Yeah, but like a fucking gyroscope kind of thing. Kind of has that shape a little bit. Okay. It's approaching the space station at the same time as Ripley and Call's ship is. Also, yeah, as I believe it was Bob mentioned a little bit ago, I even said in my notes, also it looks like the Call is the leader of this group. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So they dress up as the food delivery people, sneak onto the station, and then when they get right outside of the tunnel that leads to Circle 7, they kill all of the guards shadowing them, go down the tunnel, and then right as they get to the Circle 7 door, the alarm starts going off.
They talk about how Circle 7's got such tight security. Mm-hmm. It clearly doesn't. Like it just fucking doesn't.
Maybe it does in comparison to everywhere else on the ship.
Okay, maybe, but this wasn't hard for them at all to get that far. I mean, we don't see him get through the door, but you know what I mean.
But yeah, like I said, they get to the door, the alarm goes off, they blow the door open, and Trollenberg is just there on the other side of the door, partially de-skinned, so you can see a bunch of his metal glinting through, and one of his eyes is glowing red, and he pulls out a big gun and gets into a shootout with him.
He's dual wielding.
On the squad side, a guy with red hair and a bandana and a lady with platinum blonde hair get killed.
Wait, hold on. What does he say, though?
Later on, we're told that Echo and Sod got killed, but we don't know which of those two is which.
Bob, do you want to read Vorman's line?
Vorman's line goes something like this. Crap almighty.
That's right. But yeah, Trollenberg has his guns. He's about to continue just, wasting the rest of the crew when he suddenly his non-visual spectrum ability to see and scan things detects somebody in some kind of camouflage cloaking sneaking around in the room and stops focusing on the squad to start firing at this invisible guy instead. When suddenly Trollenberg's head gets cut off by a big saw blade.
Yeah, and then he gets a big plasma burst through his chest. Through his chassis.
Yep. And then the squad is debating what it was that just happened when suddenly the now uncloaked Predator gets thrown through the doors on the other side of the room, and he's like lying on the ground going, ow, 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 when this really big, huge guy that looks like Kingpin in the Spider-Verse movies stomps through the door and is about to crush the Predator's head with one hand, and that's how issue 1 ends.
How do we feel about the Predator's design in the comic?
Everything's so round in this. It's so
everything, like his ship and everything. Everything is like round and like
lumpy,
bubbly and bulbous. It's kind of weird.
I'm looking if we get a really good shot of him in this. We don't really until the next issue, but something about it makes me uncomfortable. Everyone looks like Battletoads.
Neil,
it's very Battletoads, yeah.
Neil, you might back me up on this, or you might decide that I'm wrong and be willing to debate me because I don't have the comic open in front of me. But my memory from what I read it earlier today is that the Predator's armor design, especially his mask, reminded me of the Uber Jason mask from Jason X.
Ooh, that's a good call. I'm looking for him because we see him in the ship, right?
I think so, yeah.
It's just such a shame because the Predator is every Predator design has so much like character and personality to it.
Yeah, there's so much going on there, yeah.
And in the comic, it's this version is so stripped down, and it's just like a green muscular guy with brown pants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kenny, you're dead on about the mask. It's very Uber Jason-y.
Yeah,
it's just got that and when he's sitting in the ship, definitely. It's got the same face shape.
Mm-hmm.
Issue 1 was a stinker for me.
All right.
Let's see if issue 2 got better.
Issue 2 starts off with Ripley announcing to everyone there that this guy is a hybrid alien, but turns out those 2 hybrid parts are xenomorph and android.
Yeah,
so basically they
acheronsis, right?
Yeah, they took a guy and gave him a whole bunch of cybernetic parts, and then I guess spliced xeno DNA into him, and it made him just look like a huge guy, I guess.
So that's not my reading is that these are Terminators, like your traditional Terminators, living tissue over metal endoskeleton, right? Mm-hmm. And then the living tissue has been enhanced with the xenomorph DNA to make them bulkier and stronger.
I was wondering how they were able to get xenomorph DNA in there because Terminators don't have DNA.
Right. Well, I mean, the tissue, the living tissue technically, I guess, would, because it is organic.
But because this guy is part xenomorph, and I don't know if this is an explanation they give in the comic, but it's the lore explanation that my brain invented when I saw him do this. This hybrid's equivalent of the DNA reflex is the ability to pick stuff up and physically absorb that stuff into his body.
Yeah.
So he just does that and then uses that enhanced strength to rip the Predator's arm off.
So there's a thing that Robert Patrick's T-1000 does if you watch Terminator 2, where he touches a lot of stuff before he uses it, right? And the idea is that he can kind of like when he gets in the police car towards the beginning, he touches the computer. And then he knows how to use the computer, and
he's copying it or whatever.
But it's like he's reading the information, and I don't remember if that's explained in a deleted scene or something I heard on the commentary or something that that's the intent of that behavior that he does. So I kind of read this as maybe they put some T-1000 in this Terminator, and
that's fair.
He can touch things and absorb them the same way the T-1000. I think also every human the T-1000 copies is someone he's been in contact with. That's why he can only copy people he's killed. Right.
I gotcha.
So that maybe combined with the reflex, the DNA reflex from the Kenner toy line is why he's able to just absorb things.
This point in the comic is where I started to question what we're even doing here.
Oh, it took you this long, huh?
Well, I mean, look, the point of the Terminator
Yeah.
is to fit in with human society and go undetected, right?
100%. Yes.
So they've basically created the Thing
That is correct. Yes.
from
Sure.
Fantastic Four, the Thing, right?
Yes, that is correct.
They've invented Ben Grimm in the future.
Why are we even bothering making it look human at this point? It doesn't.
Right.
We're aware androids exist. Why don't we just build a gigantic death machine robot?
Yeah, this is a problem I have also, right? Like the reason the Schwarzenegger, the Arnold, the T-800 was big is because they had to disguise the metal inside it, right? Like the successive versions of it. The T-1000 is slimmer. The TX that we don't talk about because Terminator 3 sucks is slimmer. They each generation looks more and more human and fits in better as an infiltrator. This comic book didn't think about any of that and just made them all the hugest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And why? And what is the purpose of even having them? Like, I understand the Doctor needing to be an infiltrator, right?
Sure.
But the other ones, I don't know, man.
You're creating a killing machine. Just create the killing machine. It doesn't need to fit in at Starbucks.
Exactly. And like we've seen synthetics fight, right? Like they don't need to be huge and bulky in this universe to be able to fight a xenomorph or whatever, or like murder humans. I mean, if Ian Holm can kill people,
That's true.
Although I guess he wasn't that successful, actually.
He wasn't. That. Yeah. Pretty much.
He got close though.
He got close. But the hybrid then uses its absorption ability to open up a huge fucking hole in the side of the ship and to try to suck everyone out, which I genuinely did not see coming. I was like, oh, that's kind of a clever use of that ability.
It's kind of wild.
And then while he's standing there menacingly in front of the hole while everyone's getting sucked out of it, we get an extremely good shot of just how fucking stupid this guy's haircut is.
He's just fucking standing there.
It's so bad and it's so funny. I love it so much.
It's like someone screwed up a bowl cut and had to take it higher.
Yeah, like he's bald, but he has like an oval of hair on his head, but the way it's drawn, it looks like it's straight black hair, like a bowl cut coming down rather than a flat top sticking up. It's so stupid. I love it so much.
And he's just holding the Yelcha arm.
Oh yeah, while he's standing there, we see the one-armed Pred get sucked out into space. The rest of the squad manages to get a door open and escape, and Ripley brings along Trollenberg's severed head.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see that Ripley, Call, a bald guy, and the huge blonde guy that at this point in the comic we have not yet been told is named Vorman, were the only ones that survived.
He also says crap again.
Sorry to do this, but I think they name him Vorman on like the first 2 pages of issue 1.
Oh, then I missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, after they escape, the hybrid opens up a big escape hatch while carrying a container that has a bunch of chest bursters in it.
I did like this. I like that he smashes this thing open and just like grabs a couple of chest bursters out.
And then just like tosses him into a container and off he goes.
Yeah, they were nicely drawn.
And then while the crew is flying away from the ship, the Typhoon just explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Which that just came out of, like, no one ever said that blowing it up was even part of the plan, but just suddenly it just blows up.
Yeah.
And Ripley gives Call Trollenberg's head so she can patch into the hard drive on it. Mm-hmm. And then we cut back to the hybrid, who is floating away on a pod, and he is doing a dissection on one of the chest bursters, pulls out its spinal column, and then looks over at another presumably hybrid that's like bonded up inside the escape pod with him.
I think he's making another hybrid.
Well, there's definitely a guy strapped to a table. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm that's my guess because it's not clear. I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense.
Call finally gets into Trollenberg's head, and when she does, we are given a holographic pre-recorded video of John Connor.
God.
that he made in 2035 that basically outlines the whole deal. He, long story short, tells her about what's called the Skynet Resurrection Program. He basically tells her a little bit about what Skynet is and like the war they fought and everything. And then he reveals the existence of a new type of Terminator called the Crypto Terminator. He runs on Bitcoin and NFTs.
Yeah, they're always messaging me on WhatsApp.
That's right. My understanding of his explanation is that Crypto Terminators are Terminators that have the code for Skynet inside of their brain, and Skynet sent them forwards in time rather than backwards. Yeah. So that in case John Connor does successfully destroy Skynet, they can rebuild Skynet in the future using these pieces of codes encoded in their hard drive.
Yeah, I'm not sure they were sent forwards. I think they were sent forwards and backwards. They were just sent to different points in time. This is, again, something that the Sarah Connor Chronicles sort of touched on of Skynet sending Terminators to different points in time with different like jobs because they can just stay alive forever, right?
I got you.
So that is, I think, a cool idea that if you think too hard about, the science, well, of course the science doesn't hold up. We don't have time travel, for sure. But like the practicality of it maybe doesn't hold up. But I think it's a fun idea of just sending Terminators out just to like have jobs,
But speaking of Terminators having jobs, he does specifically tell us that there was one Crypto Terminator in particular, the one we know as Trollenberg, that's kind of the head of this section of time's part of the resurrection program. It is his job to make the army of Terminators in the future that, again, this is how I understood it. Maybe it's not correct, but this is how I interpreted what John was telling us. Because Terminators only have part of the code of Skynet in them, he has to make an entire army of Terminators so that he can piece together the entire code, taking it from each Terminator's brain.
Yeah, I can see that. I read it as just they all have the code in them, and so just having enough of them increases their chance. But I'm reading it now, and yeah, it totally does look like they're saying if they are allowed to raise an army, they'll have the power to resurrect their master. So yeah. Who knows?
And this is also the point where we find out that the bald guy that survived is named Blades.
Yes.
Anyway, they're about to fly away and Blades hits the go button, and when he hits it, nothing happens. And they're like, oh no, our ship has stalled. And then right when that happens, a whole bunch of Predator scout ships uncloak in space around them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Predators warp onto the ship and kick everyone's ass.
Sure.
And then one of them grabs Ripley, cuts her a little, and then watches as her blood eats a hole in the floor, says something to the rest of the Predators, and then they all warp away with her.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the pod that the hybrid was on, and they're being hailed and picked up by a military ship. And upon onboarding, we find out that he has successfully, like that other guy on the pod, the first one has successfully turned him into a hybrid, and now there's two of them. And also, turns out they can talk, so that's fun.
Yeah, and they can talk naturally, too.
Yeah. And that's how issue 2 ends.
Yep.
Well, hey, positives for issue 2. We did get our first xenomorph drawing.
We did during the flashback where John was talking about Trollenberg. There's a panel of him looking up at a big, like, back to tank kind of thing that has a xenomorph floating in it.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Skynet, what is it? Skynet
Resurrection program.
That I kind of glossed over that whole thing just because I started reading it and I was like, wait, why are they doing it?
Yeah, you didn't miss anything, Bob. It's fucking...
Yeah, for the record, I forgot to mention the reason that program is there is because John says that he had basically captured not this Terminator, but just like he captured a Terminator and then put this programming just into their network, like hid it in a bunch of subroutines so that if someone in the future, like when the Skynet Resurrection program is happening, if someone has like good enough computer capabilities to be able to hack into a Terminator, then this message will activate to be like, look, you don't want to continue. It's a really bad idea to hack into this, and here's why.
They didn't even capture... So the story about capturing and turning Terminators was separate. The virus thing is just like, they're like, we were too late to stop the crypto Terminators from being sent out. But we were still able to hack into the peripherals, make this sleeper virus, pre-record this message with our entire plan as if it was already successful, and then transmit that to the crypto Terminators that have already been sent out through time. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it's great too, because what's really funny about that to me is that he's like, oh yeah, I'm encoding this video in the Terminators to tell everyone to watch out for this guy named Trollenberg. And they find this video by looking at Trollenberg's corpse, and so they're like, a little late, bucko.
I mean, they had to force the Terminator explanation in, I guess, because like they even make a comment where they're like, we never heard of like the Skynet war. Was this more like censored information that the military censored from the public or whatever, erased from the records? Like, I know that these are the crossovers in particular are like extra non-canon, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
But this feels just like super fucking lazy. I don't know. The problem is like, this is 3 franchises that I really like, and I don't want to take this stuff too seriously. And I don't want to be that guy who's like, this should have been a different story, because this is the story that we got. You know, this is the story that Dark Horse like put their stamp of approval on, and this is what we have. But it doesn't. It's not doing justice to any of the 3 properties so far. We're halfway through the series. The Terminator stuff doesn't make any sense, and there's no noticeable difference between the hybrid Terminator and a regular Terminator, except that it can like absorb things. The Predator got his arm ripped off and thrown out into space.
Yeah, he sure did.
And we haven't really seen a xenomorph at all, except for one in the tank. They're just like captured and being experimented on. And Ripley Yates there for some reason.
The Ripley and Call's little subplot was just like the catalyst to start this story, and it seems like it's just kind of doing its own thing regardless of what they're doing.
In a lot of ways, Trollenberg is kind of the main character of the first 2 issues of this comic. He's in it like as much as Ripley and Call are.
But he was dead in the first issue.
He sure was, but here he's extended flashbacks in issue 2, and his head is still there.
Sure, his head is still kicking around. Yeah.
But I will agree with both of you that this comic is insane and makes no sense. Yeah. But unlike the both of you, that's why I'm having a great time reading it and think that it's a really good comic.
I'm happy for you, and I don't want to come down on you.
It is just insane and ridiculous, and they're like, we're going to try this, we're going to try this, we're going to try this. Fuck it, let's just throw it all in. And I'm like, yeah, man, why not? I mean, you're crossing over xenomorphs, predators, and Terminators. I don't want this story to be like minimalist, you know?
Okay.
I want it to be huge and wild and make no sense, because it makes no sense to have those 3 things together.
I get you, but I still want those 3 things to feel like those 3 things, you know? Like, there's plenty of Alien versus Predator stuff out there, right? Like, it's entirely... It makes sense with the time travel aspect of the Terminator series that something could be sent into the future for whatever reason, or, you know, I don't know, they could just set up a story where aliens and predators come to the near future after Skynet has taken over Earth, and like maybe a predator is there to hunt Terminators because they're super dangerous prey also, you know, and then just like have a good story. I don't know. I don't feel like it had to be like Ripley 8 like living in the sewers and Call being like, come on, let's go be space caterers so we can like blow up this lab on a space station or whatever.
Again, I don't want to be like how you said earlier. I don't want to try to rewrite the story because this is the story they wrote, you know?
Right.
But one thing I will say that seemed unnecessary to me is you can just have Terminators existing. That's fine.
Yeah.
And 2, there is nothing about this story that needed it to be set post-resurrection.
Yes.
Not so far, anyway.
Nothing. No reason.
There is no reason at all for the. Well, okay, I shouldn't say there is no reason for this to be specifically Ripley 8 because the fact that it is Ripley 8 actually does end up coming into play at the very end because the fact that she has like the acid blood and is part Xeno is the reason the Predators take her away. So I don't know how that's going to become relevant, but it does finally become relevant at the very end of the second issue of this 4-issue series.
Okay.
So maybe it does become important later. I don't know. But as of right now, it does not need to be a post-resurrection story.
Here's what we're doing wrong, Neil.
Okay.
We're looking at it through a 2024 lens.
Right.
We need to go back to the year 2000.
Yes.
We need to. This is when it was not in vogue to have prequels and to set things in between other points in the franchise. You follow up the latest thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, the latest thing is Resurrection. So we have to go with Ripley 8.
It would be post Resurrection, post Terminator 2, and post Predator 2.
Yeah. So like Aliens Outbreak, like Terminator Tempest, this is a comic book sequel specifically to Alien Resurrection.
To the last thing that came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fair. I didn't put that together. That is a good point.
All right. Here's one. Ripley and Call and Ron Perlman are still out there fighting the good fight, right? Mm-hmm. Call is trying to free the Autons, okay? Mm-hmm. So you've got a synthetic story already set up, right? Time displacement chamber fucks up, launches a Terminator into the future instead of into the past, okay? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That Terminator is drawn to other synthetics, maybe the Autons. Maybe one of them didn't burn their modem after all.
Maybe it's Call.
And then a Predator is also there because they're xenomorphs and they're doing what they always do and trying to kill the xenomorphs.
The Predators are there because Predators are just there. You know? They're just around now. Yeah.
There it is.
In the setting of this comic, Predators just exist. Yeah.
Marvel, if you're Marvel and Dynamite, if you're listening.
This is pre-Hellboy, so that's the only reason we don't have Ron Perlman in this.
Ron Perlman shows up as Hellboy.
Fine by me. Yeah, the comic was around, but the movie had not been made yet. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't like the celebrity, so they're not. They have Winona, they have Sigourney. The only reason they don't have Perlman also is because he just wasn't popping.
He wasn't in the comic because he was busy getting ready to film Hellboy.
That's right. Also, now I'm mad that Vreese isn't in this comic.
Right?
Ooh,
Wheeling
they should have fucking had Vreese in it, dude. Since, as you guys pointed out earlier, there's so many fucking feet in this comic, it would have been the perfect opportunity for Vreese to come in and start giving foot massages.
Oh, no.
Also, looking at the credits, I did see Mel Ruby as the penciler and thought it said penicillin.
Good work.
All right.
But yeah, general consensus seems to be that we all thought it was insane and nonsensical, but I am the only one that thought that was a good thing, which I'm fine with that. So,
Bob, you had fun with it too, though. Like, right?
I thought it was stupid, but it's like it's short enough where I don't feel like it's a slog.
Right. It was not
It's definitely very dumb.
It was not a slog. I think, as I was kind of saying before we got into the discussion part, like the era of Dark Horse comics that were like, even if they were, acting as sequels or whatever, they were just doing whatever they wanted. And I don't know. I understand that this is doing whatever it wants and is doing something original, but I think the big thing is like the early Dark. Well, it doesn't count for the Aliens books because that had Hicks and Newt. So we'll pretend it's the Billy and Wilkes version.
All right. Which at this point it would have been officially. So
all right, I'm going to leave all of that in, but I'm going to restart my argument. The Terminator comics that I've read don't involve existing characters, right? They just focus on different characters in this world, other events that are happening, you know, some of them just set like in the future, like with the Resistance fighting Terminators and new types of them or whatever. Some of them involving a team going back into time and back in time for whatever reason. I think that my biggest problem with this book is that it's tying itself to Ripley 8. And even though like the one part of these two issues that I found really interesting was where Ripley 8 is at this point of just sort of like having given up on fighting the xenomorphs and accepting that they're just like the plague that's going to destroy the universe, but also like not wanting to be a lab rat anymore and just wanting to be free now finally and free of all of this stuff. I found that very interesting, but I still would prefer this if we weren't following like Ripley and Cole for whatever reason. It, like you were saying, Kenny, there's no reason why this has to be a post-resurrection story.
Yeah. And also one other thing that I will like to say, I do think it's really fun that the story is insane and nonsensical, but like my biggest gripe with this comic is that it is way more complex than it needed to be. Like at the beginning, like both at the beginning of this episode and in our recording discussion, Neil, you mentioned, oh yeah, nothing happens here. There's like 10 minutes of discussion. Yeah. I felt exactly the opposite. I was like, there is so much more going on here than you would think in 22 pages. Like when I was taking my notes, I was at the end of page 3 of the comic and I had already gotten like 7 paragraphs of notes because so much stuff happens in this book. And ultimately, like so much stuff probably to the comic's detriment. Like they way overthought everything. It does not need to be this complicated. Like I said, like, you know, like how in this comic, the Predator is just there. They don't need to give an explanation. The Predator just exists in the world of this comic.
Yeah.
Terminators could be the same thing. Terminators can just exist.
Sure.
It's fine. You don't need to give me a 4-page soliloquy that explains where they came from, because you know where they came from? The future, or in this comic's case, the past. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they came here via time travel. That's good enough. We're talking about 3 big monsters and we only got 4 issues. Let's keep it moving, you know?
Sure.
So I'm not a big comic book head, but was the early 2000s, late 90s, was the vibe of comic books to be this style of like, we're gonna convolute things and really overcomplicate our premises because we're trying to be like heady and like more cerebral than what comics used to be? Was that kind of a mentality at the time?
I'm gonna say yes. At this time, I was avoiding books like this, though. Mm-hmm. Like I'd say early 2000s is when I was really getting into a lot of independent stuff, as opposed to like Big Two and like licensed books like this. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know, there's just you know what this art looks like? It's just hit me. The Army of Darkness comics.
I haven't read them, but all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Well, that's going to be my example for this. I am a huge fan of that franchise, as I've talked about way too many times.
I'm sure there's someone out there listening that has read the Army of Darkness comics and they're pumping their fist going, yes, yes, yes.
I mean, it's been running forever and I'm trying to read it, but it's guilty of the same thing as this, of just taking sort of relatively simple premises and overcomplicating them to find excuses to keep telling stories set in these universes.
I got you.
And I found that really unappealing, and I never really got into them, you know, and like I was not reading Alien or Predator or Terminator books in the year 2000, because if I would pick them up off the rack and flip through them, it just kind of looked like a jumbled mess, you know? Mm-hmm. And I do like I mentioned at the beginning of this, my favorite Terminator movie is the original. My favorite Alien movie is the original. I think that these things are a lot more successful when you keep them relatively simple in premise.
I will agree to that. Yeah.
So
True.
yeah, I do think this was running around a lot in comics at the time.
Because I feel like that's my main detriment with just Resurrection in general is how 90s it feels.
Yeah.
In aesthetic. And I feel like that maybe we're just looking at this through a contemporary lens, and that's why it seems so like convoluted to us, because if this was written today, it would be a very different vibe.
Sure would.
It would. But I can tell you for sure, if I saw this on the rack, I probably would have picked up issue 1 out of curiosity because of the title. But I don't think I would have picked up issue 2 having read issue 1. I definitely would have like added this to my pull list.
You're going to leave that cliffhanger?
Yeah. Because yeah, I am. I'm going to leave that cliffhanger.
Bro.
All right, Bob, that's kind of our standard review style for comic books. If you didn't have to read it for the show, would you read it and or continue to read it?
And ignore the fact that you technically don't have to read it for the show.
Yes.
I mean, they are short enough. If I don't think I would be, going every week to the LCS and picking up my new issue. But if all 4 issues were somewhere and they were like, $10 for all 4 issues,
Sure,
I'd grab them.
Yeah, this I might have grabbed the trade if it was priced low enough.
But yeah, I'm not making a trip especially just for every week. Hey, the new AVPVTT is out.
Thank you for tossing in that second T there. I appreciate you remembering it. I just based on title and premise alone, it sounds fun, but if I'm actually standing in a comic book store looking at it, I would never pick this up and read it sight unseen. But now that I have read it, like after I read issue 1, I would have been like, all right, now that I've started reading it and I'm kind of having fun with it, I'd like to see how they manage to explain how all of this works. So after I read issue 1, I'd probably continue, but it would be a near impossible hurdle to get me over from like starting the first issue in the first place. That would be the trouble that I have, not continuing after I've started.
After reading issue 1, Kenny would have gotten all the variant covers.
I wouldn't have gone that far, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. It's buck wild enough that I'm like, all right, let's see could they get crazier? Let's see.
Yeah.
So here's a comparison. Somewhere in a box of comics, I have the Army of Darkness meets Obama #1.
Wow.
But I never read the rest of them.
I was just about to ask, is there only a #1? But no, it was a mini series.
I believe, I don't remember. I believe it was a mini series, but I can tell you I would not have continued. Like that was a shit. Someone may have even given me that. That might be a bad example, but that would be an example of like a curiosity pickup just to see what it's about. You know what I mean?
I got you.
So I got a whole box of those somewhere. Anyway.
I don't have anything else about the comic.
Interested to see how this thing finishes off. What if it just like finishes super strong and I have to eat my words?
That's fine.
It better finish with them getting swallowed up by the evil and they get dropped out of the sky with the what is it, the 76 Cutlass or whatever.
The classic. It's a Pontiac.
The classic Pontiac.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they drop in and then they're in medieval
They came from the sky to save us from the Deadites. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bruce Campbell's already there.
And he's got some witty, he says, all right, you jack-offs.
He says,
I can't think of a single line from Army of Darkness.
First you want to kiss me, now you want to kill me. Blow. Or something like that. I think I got those backwards.
Shop smart. Shop.
Shop S smart.
Shop S smart.
I think I can tell we're done
Phenomenal stuff, guys. Just absolutely riveting stuff.
All right.
I assume that means yes, no one else has anything to say.
I got nothing else to say about
All
it.
right,
It's goofy. We'll see where it goes.
I'm hoping I turn around on this. I genuinely am.
And here's the thing. If you don't, who cares? That's fine. You're allowed to not like stuff.
Yeah. I'm going in to the rest of this hoping for the best. Okay. I'm not going to like just be down on it because I'm down on these. You know, I'm hoping for a turnaround. I'm hoping this will be Terminator Salvation, where I hate the first half, but I'm kind of okay with the second half.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Let's close it up though, Bob.
Okay.
You want to plug your stuff again? You don't
Go
have
to the internet and look up, just Google my name.
Bob. Go to Google and type in Bob, and you'll probably get his results.
Guys, there's links in the show notes.
Links in the show notes. Do that.
Yeah.
I do stuff.
Kenny.
Great work, Bob. Nice job. I am at CYHOBBEZ on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Letterboxd, and on the PSN. So find me there if you want to.
FinalNeil.com links to whatever socials I have. They're all Final Neil on whatever they are.
Our Twitter account is at Crew Expendapod. Our Blue Sky account is at Crew Expendable. Our Instagram and Threads accounts are both at Crew Expendable Pod. Our website is crewexpendable.net. Our YouTube page is youtube.com/@crewexpendable. And our email address, if you want to ask us or tell us something, is mother@crewexpendable.net.
Hey, future Neil here to say thank you to Sarah Garvin for that Terminator styled percussion on the intro and the outro. Sarah, thank you so much. We will be back with something next week. I don't know if it's the second half of this or if we're going to squeeze a what if in, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be something.
Bob, thanks for hanging out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for
always a delight to have you on the show.
That's good to hear.
It truly is. That sounded sarcastic, but I meant it.
Okay.
just going to be just very clear with my words. It really is fun when you're on the show.
Hey, thank you. I like hanging out with you guys.
It's 10 o'clock on a Sunday, 10 p.m. And I got laundry to do.
Good work.
All right.
We'll be back. So until then, just realize we'll be back is like a Terminator line, so double meaning.
Oh, shit.
And maybe we shouldn't stay frosty this one. Maybe we should hasta la vista baby this.
Hey, maybe we should be a sexual tyrannosaur.
We'll save that for the Predator episodes. Let's do an hasta la vista baby. So until next time, hasta la vista, baby.